Hi everyone, I am just another volleyball girl and welcome to my countdown to the NCAA Men's Volleyball National Championship Tournament. So the semifinals for the tournament are going to be taking place this Saturday and the championship will be on Monday. The games are at Poly Pavilion in Los Angeles, so I encourage you to go out and watch in person if you're available to. And if you're not available to go in person, watch it on ESPN+. So what we're going to be doing today and for the next 4 days is we're going to be breaking down each of the teams that are competing in the national semifinals to just get you guys more familiar with the teams, some players to watch. I have some statistics for you so that you can have a little bit more background and perspective as you watch the games. So we are going to be kicking it off with UCI first. So UCI comes from the Big West Conference, where they finished third behind the University of Hawaii and Long Beach State, both of who are actually also competing in this tournament. And their most notable statistic, I think, is their hitting efficiency. They're hitting 301 on the year, which is good for 12th in the country. They have about 1.5 aces per set, 8 digs per set, and 2 blocks per set, which are all pretty solid stat lines. Their leading attackers are freshman outside hitter Andre Jokanovic and senior opposite Will Darcy. Jokanovic has 388 kills on the year, 3.37 kills per set on a 279 efficiency. He's also the leading server on the team with 49 aces to 97 errors, which is a pretty good ratio because most players usually strive for about a 1-to-2 ratio between service aces and service errors. So Jokanovic is in a pretty good spot there. And then Darcy has 326 kills, 2.86 kills per set on a 280 efficiency. So both of these guys have the potential to go off for some really big numbers, but they've also had some pretty low nights, which have also hurt UCI. Like, for example, Jokanovic's highest hitting percentage is 714, but his lowest is negative 091. Similarly for Darcy, his highest hitting percentage is 630, but his lowest is 0. So while both of these guys can have a really big positive impact, if they aren't on, it can really hurt UCI. UCI's defense is anchored in the back row by sophomore libero Shane Aiken. He has 205 digs on the year and 1.97 digs per set. And their front row defense is led by their middle blockers Trevor Clark and Micah Goss. Trevor Clark is a junior transfer and he leads the team in blocks with 94 blocks and 0.93 blocks per set. Trevor Clark is also kind of interesting because he hits for some pretty big numbers as far as middle blockers go, at least. He has 202 kills on the year, about 2 kills per set, and a 501 efficiency on the whole year, which is the second best in the entire country. So he's had some games I've seen where he's putting up like 14 kills and outproducing even some of their outside hitters. So that's definitely something to watch for watching UCI in this tournament. Their starting setter is Cameron Costi, son of Stanford head coach John Costi, and he runs a pretty good offense. His stats are pretty solid all around if you look at them. 880 assists, about 8.5 assists per set, a little over a half a kill per set, 23 aces, about a dig a set. So he runs a pretty good offense, and he also does a serviceable job in the front rows, so there isn't a huge blocking weakness for UCI when he goes up into the front row. But he runs a pretty good offense, I would say. My biggest question for UCI going into the tournament is what role the OH2 is going to play. We've seen different people fill this role for them across the season. We've seen Anton Kiriakou Jr. a lot of the year. He's more of a ball control outside hitter. He's a good defender, but he's a little bit small. I think he's about 6'3" or 6'2". So they lose a little bit of offense when he goes into the front row, and he just doesn't produce as much as Jokanovic or Darcy, for example. So they lose a little bit of offense, but they gain some defense. And then they also have freshman Andreas Brink, who really wasn't on my radar, at all for most of the year, but he had a fantastic game against UCLA. I think he had 17 kills, so he definitely provides a lot more offense than Kiriakou does. And he appears to be a pretty good receiver too, so he's probably who I would guess to be the starter going into these games, but they also have the ability to put in Kiriakou if they need some stability in reception. And finally, I wrote down some keys to winning for UCI. So my first key to winning for UCI is establishing the middle and then running a fast offense out to the pins. So because you have two such great middles in Micah Goss and Trevor Clark. If UCI can pass well enough to establish them quickly, then that'll force the middle blockers on the other team to pay attention to them, particularly Trevor Clark, because as I said earlier, he can produce at a really high volume, like even higher than some outside hitters. So if the middles on the other team are forced to respect them in the middle, then Cameron Costi can run the ball a little bit faster out to Will Darcy and Jokanovic, allowing them to go over the top and find some more angles potentially in one-on-one situations. My next key to win is consistent pressure from the service line. UCI has a couple of pretty good servers. As I said, Jokanovic leads them in aces. Micah Goss can go off from the service line if he gets the right toss. Cameron Costi is also a pretty good server. And yeah, I've seen Darcy have some good serves too. So if these guys can put on consistent pressure from the service line, that'll allow their defense to function a little bit better and allow Aiken to take a couple more balls in defense. And yeah, that'll serve them overall to extend some rallies. My last key to win for UCI is to find and feed the hot hitter. So if you look at UCI stats across most of their games, you'll usually see one person who tends to jump out on the stat sheet, like statistically with scoring the most points. Sometimes it's Darcy, sometimes it's Jokanovic, sometimes it's even Trevor Clark who jumps out on the stat sheet. But if Cameron Costi can find who that hot hitter is early in the game and feed them early, then I think that'll be especially beneficial for them in out-of-system situations, for Costi to know who that guy is that he wants to go to if they're in trouble, and also how he can balance his offense out when he gets a better pass. All right, so that is my analysis of UCI going into this tournament. If you like this style of content, please let me know down in the comments. You know I love reading your comments. I love hearing your guys' thoughts. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow where we will be breaking down Ball State. See ya!